The puppy's paw trembled as he placed it gently in the vet's hand, his pleading eyes begging for a chance to live. The room fell silent. The vet raised the syringe but froze. Something was terribly wrong. In that heartbreaking moment, he realized the truth and burst into tears. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The veterinary clinic was unusually quiet that evening. Outside, the world bustled with ordinary life, but inside the small examination room, time felt heavy, each second dragging painfully. A young family sat huddled together, their eyes red from hours of crying. In their arms rested a small puppy, weak and trembling, his breaths shallow and uneven. They had tried everything, different medications, late-night visits, endless prayers whispered over his fragile body. But nothing seemed to work. His condition had worsened so quickly that even walking had become a struggle. Every rise and fall of his tiny chest looked like it might be his last. The vet entered, his expression calm but weighed down with sorrow. He had been through this countless times, yet each case cut deep. Pulling off his gloves, he spoke, softly. "Sometimes love means letting go. This will be painless, I promise." The family nodded reluctantly, their hearts breaking. The little boy whispered, "I don't want him to hurt anymore," while his sister clutched the puppy, tighter, burying her face in his fur. The syringe gleamed under the clinic lights as the vet prepared the table. A silence filled the room, a silence of goodbye, final, inevitable, and crushing. The vet gently reached for the puppy, preparing to place him on the table. The family leaned in close, whispering their final goodbyes. The little girl stroked his ear and whispered, "We love you. Please don't be scared." Her voice trembled, breaking the silence in the room. But then, something unexpected happened. With what little strength he had left, the puppy slowly lifted his paw. His small body shook as he extended it forward, resting it in the vet's hand. His dark, glassy eyes locked onto the man's face, not with fear, but with a plea so pure it cut straight through the air. The vet froze. His fingers tightened around the paw, stunned by the deliberate gesture. He had seen countless animals, in their final moments, but never anything like this. Behind him, the mother gasped softly, covering her mouth. The little boy whispered, "He doesn't want to go." The puppy's paw trembled, but he held on, refusing to let go. His gaze was unwavering, as if he was begging for one last chance. For a moment, the syringe in the vet's other hand felt unbearably heavy. His heart pounded. Something inside him screamed that this wasn't just coincidence. This tiny life was asking, no, fighting to be heard. The room felt frozen in time. The vet's hand trembled as he stared down at the fragile paw resting in his palm. He had been in this position countless times, guiding families through painful goodbyes, but this was different. Something about the puppy's eyes unsettled him. They weren't the eyes of one ready to give up. They were pleading, alive, defiant. He set the syringe aside, his instincts gnawing at him. "Wait," he whispered, almost to himself. The family looked up in confusion. "What do you mean?" the father asked cautiously, his voice tinged with fragile hope. The vet bent, closer, gently examining the puppy again, his stethoscope pressed against the tiny chest, listening carefully. The rhythm was faint but not failing. The breaths were shallow but inconsistent, irregular in a way that didn't fit the diagnosis. His brow furrowed as he lifted the puppy's eyelids, checked his gums, and pressed gently along his abdomen. The puppy whimpered weakly but pressed his paw harder into the vet's hand, refusing to let go. The vet's throat tightened. "This doesn't look like a terminal illness," he murmured, half in disbelief. "I think we may have missed something." The family gasped, hope flickering in their tear-stained faces. For the first time, that night, the unbearable silence was broken by the possibility of a miracle. The vet's hands moved quickly now, his earlier hesitation replaced by urgency. He carried the puppy to the exam table, signaling for his assistant. "Run, a full blood panel now. Check for infections, toxins, anything unusual. His voice carried a sharp edge, a stark contrast to the stillness of moments before. The family clung to each other, watching every move. The little boy wiped his face with his sleeve and whispered, "He's not leaving us yet." The dog whimpered softly, his paw still stretching toward the vet whenever he came near, as if begging him not to stop searching. Minutes ticked by like hours until the lab results appeared on the monitor. The vet scanned the numbers, his eyes widening in shock. "This isn't organ failure," he announced. "It's a severe infection. His body is weak, yes, but this is treatable." Gasps filled the room. The mother's hands flew to her mouth, tears spilling faster than before. The father stepped closer, his voice trembling. "You mean he can live?" The vet nodded firmly, though his own eyes glistened. "If we act quickly, yes. He still has a fighting chance." The syringe that once promised an end now lay forgotten. In its place came IV drips, antibiotics, and a renewed determination to save the tiny life that refused to give up. The clinic transformed into a battlefield. The vet and his assistant moved swiftly, inserting an IV line into the puppy's tiny leg, hooking him to fluids and antibiotics. Oxygen hissed softly through a mask placed over his muzzle, each weak breath rattling against it. The beeping monitors became the soundtrack of hope and fear colliding. The family stood just outside the room, watching through the glass. The mother pressed her palms together in silent prayer, tears streaking her cheeks. The father had, his arm wrapped around both children, whispering, "He's strong. He's fighting." Yet even as he spoke, his own eyes betrayed the uncertainty gnawing at his heart. The puppy twitched occasionally, his small body trembling as the medication coursed through him. The vet leaned close, whispering words of encouragement. "Stay with us, little one. You're not done yet." Hours dragged by like years. Midnight came and went, the family refusing to leave. Each beep of the heart monitor was a fragile thread tethering them to hope. At last the puppy's breathing grew steadier, his chest rising with more strength than before. It wasn't victory yet, but it was a sign, a spark in the darkness. The battle wasn't over, but for the first time it felt winnable. The first rays of dawn crept through the clinic windows, casting a pale glow across the room. The vet rubbed his tired eyes, having stayed by the puppy's side all night. Then a small sound broke the stillness, a faint whimper. Slowly, the puppy's eyes fluttered open, blinking against the light. His tail gave the slightest wag. The vet's throat tightened as the little dog tried to lift his head, weak but determined. "Good boy," the vet whispered, tears welling in his eyes. The family burst into the room, their gasps filling the air. The children rushed forward, their faces lighting up with joy as the puppy gave another tiny wag. The mother knelt beside the table, her hands trembling as she stroked his fur. "You came back to us," she whispered through sobs. The father pulled her close, his own eyes wet with relief. The vet stepped back, overcome with emotion. "Last night I nearly ended a life that still had so much fight left. He begged me to look closer, and I'm so glad I did." His voice cracked, tears finally slipping free. The puppy nuzzled against his family, alive, safe, and victorious. What had begun as a final goodbye ended as a miracle, a reminder that even the smallest plea can carry the greatest truth.